Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and free minds all over the country and all over the world to the latest episode of the Breaking Conservatarian broadcast, where we prefer truth over narrative and principles over personalities. Today, we're going to talk about opportunity zones. This is something that you've heard a lot about, but there's some news that broke about these opportunity zones and about what Democrats are trying to do to stop them. So what I'm going to do is discuss. Basically, first I'm going to talk about what opportunity zones are, how they came about, the benefits of opportunity zones, at least what they're designed to do. And then I'm going to get into the meat as to what the Democrats are doing and why they're doing it. So first, before I get started, do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that share button, let your friends know. I'm trying to grow this channel so I can share more content and give you guys more information and a little bit of a more nuanced perspective on what's happening in the news today. So basically, let's start with opportunity zones. This is something that you've probably heard a lot about. You've probably heard me talk about it. You've probably heard a lot of other people talk about it as well. But basically, the news, just to give you a little preview, basically some House Democrats, some very familiar House Democrats, are trying to destroy the opportunity zone program that was established in 2017. So basically, the opportunity zone program was created by the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that was passed in 2017. It was one of the few pieces of major legislation that Congress was able to pass while being controlled by Republicans. So basically, what this program is intended to do is to kickstart economic growth in disadvantaged areas. Now, obviously, these are going to be areas that are populated predominantly by Black Americans and by Hispanic Americans. These include like inner cities, urban areas. It also includes rural areas too that are economically suffering, basically. So, one second. You know I have to get my Marco Rubio on when I do these videos, but so basically, what this does is it provides incentives to individuals and entities who want to invest in these areas. A lot of times investors don't want to invest in low-income areas that have a lot of crime, that have high tax rates, and are run by you-know-who, the Democrats. And basically, these zones are designed to incentivize them to use their wealth to pour their wealth into these communities to help revitalize them. The purpose is to spur job growth, business ownership, entrepreneurship. Basically, it's to enable people to hire more workers where people are out of work. And the way it does it is they provide certain benefits to people who would like to invest in certain. Basically, the way it works is certain cities or certain areas of cities have to qualify to be an opportunity zone. Now, I'm not sure exactly what the criteria is for that, but basically there are zones all across the country that qualify. And basically, if you're an investor and you invest in these zones, you get certain benefits, like it could be tax breaks. In some cases, or most cases, they can defer your capital gains taxes for 10 years. And there are other benefits. So basically, it's a way to allow the free market to work to address poverty in these areas. So these are really nothing new. The Obama administration was trying to propose a version of these, although from what I saw, I didn't go really deep into it, but from what I saw, it relied more on the government than on the free market. Now, I could be wrong about that, so if any of you find that that's incorrect, let me know and I'll correct myself. But from what I saw, just looking at the overview on the government website, it was more about government programs than it was about offering tax breaks and allowing the free market, or basically removing obstacles to free market solutions. So basically, so what's basically happened is that these promise zones it's actually older than that. It's actually based on something that Jack Kemp wanted to put into place. And he actually did. He was a HUD secretary, I believe, under Reagan. And basically, he called them enterprise zones. And this actually got a lot of praise from both sides, and from Democrats and Republicans. And even these opportunity zones that we're seeing now has had support from some Democrats. Senator Cory Booker being one of them. Yeah, I know. Senator Spartacus. Can you believe it? But even before these opportunity zones came about, before he remarked on the enterprise zones that Jack Kemp was putting into place, and he said that they were brilliant. So, and this was before Cory Booker became mayor of New York. So there is support for these. I mean, and not all Democrats are so far to the left that they don't want free market solutions for Americans. So basically, what's happened is that since 2017, it's had some pretty significant successes. There are still issues with it, which I'll address. But basically, it's been a lot of people have bought into it, and not just white investors, not just white corporations, but Black people as well. So Senator Tim Scott from South Carolina, he was the one that really championed the Opportunity Zone initiative. It's basically his baby. He's gone all over the country talking to people about it. He's met with a number of wealthy individuals to discuss the benefits of the opportunity zones. And being the only Black Republican senator, he has really been the one to champion this for disadvantaged communities. So I actually had the opportunity to interview him last year about what's been going on, and he's told me a little bit about it, and I'll go into that as well. But a lot of people have signed on to this. And again, not just white people. I mean, the list includes like a lot of wealthy individuals and entities. This includes rapper T.I., includes former NBA player David Robinson, former NFL player Emmitt Smith, and Bishop T.D. Jakes. Get ready. And former NFL player Derek Morgan, who I actually wrote an article about as well before I got to interview Tim Scott. And he has actually met with T.I. and Killer Mike and some others. He's even met with Charlemagne the God, more on some other issues. But I mean, there are a lot of prominent, wealthy Black men who are using the opportunity zones to benefit their communities. So when I interviewed him, I mean, and I'm going to put a link to that interview because there's a lot of good stuff that Senator Scott says in there. But he said, I'll quote him here. He said, "We've seen projects in my home state of South Carolina from Rockville to Charleston. The mayor of Rockville and I had an opportunity zone event before Thanksgiving, and he announced a $500 million 5-year project that will also provide portable housing." And actually, I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to go read another quote that he said about it. Basically, in explaining it, well, actually, let me go back, because this is also pretty cool too. He also mentioned Baltimore, and he said Baltimore is under a major project, which includes affordable housing, and this is all involved in that project. Memphis, Tennessee, has won $915 million prepaid 5 years fee that's going to attract thousands of permanent jobs, as well as $1 billion of investment. Let's see. And I said prepaid 5 years free, I should say. But he also said that when it comes to the opportunity zones, this is really designed not just for major banks and major corporations to invest into, but also for people who come from these communities. I just listed some of them off. But he said, I think it's incredibly important to have not only the everyday investor community, but people who have done well from impoverished areas that take the opportunity zone legislation and invest in their own backyard. That is the spine of the program. He also said the most important way to develop a community is organically. And if you're from a community, you're more likely to be sensitive and thoughtful about your process. Solving problems with a design that has a positive return on the investment and the community is the focus. So he's right. He really wanted this to be an avenue through which people who make it out of these neighborhoods, or maybe they stay in there, but they make it out of those economic circumstances. He wanted to provide a way for them to reinvigorate their communities. I mean, there are a lot of people who have been doing this even before opportunity zones. I'm sure you know about like Nipsey Hussle and even T.I. and Killer Mike were doing it before, but this provides them with a new avenue. And so these people are able to invest, get a return on their investment, but also provide more economic advantages for Black Americans and also Hispanic Americans and white Americans who live in these areas. So basically, that's basically what opportunity zones are. That's what they're designed to do. There's a lot more to it, but I mean, I've written a few articles on it, so I'll put them in the notes here. But I really want to talk about what the Democrats have been doing to try to sabotage this, because there was some news that broke just recently, just this past week about it. But this has actually been going on for a while. So basically, in a second, I'm going to go over all of that. And what's happening, and I'm working on an article for this right now, but everybody's favorite socialist politicians are working to destroy this initiative. So New York Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Minnesota Representative Rashida Tlaib are coming against the Opportunity Zones initiative yet again, because this is not the first time. But basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to defund the program. They want to defund opportunity zones so that they can't function. So what's happening here is they proposed an amendment that if it was made into law, it would prohibit the IRS from allocating any funds that are included in a House spending bill that's currently under consideration. It would prevent those funds to go to administering the Opportunity Zone program. So basically, it would shut it down indirectly. So basically, the IRS wouldn't be able to say these funds go to the Opportunity Zones program so we can manage that, thereby shutting it down, because if it doesn't have funding, it can't function. So here's the reasoning that they're using. They're saying that the way the Opportunity Zone program is set up, it's set up in a way that allows certain people to take advantage of it. In one instance, there was an area that qualified as an opportunity zone, but the problem is that it was a marina that housed super yachts. So obviously that's not an impoverished area, so they shouldn't be able to take advantage of the tax breaks and the capital gains tax deferments that the program offers. And there may have been some other instances of that as well, although they didn't bring any of those up. So basically what they're trying to say is, well, since some people can take advantage of it, let's just scrap the whole program instead of just closing that loophole. See, the problem with the Opportunity Zone program, there are a couple of issues with it. It's not a perfect program. I'm not making that claim. I'm just pointing out that it could be a benefit, and it has already been a benefit to a lot of Americans. Is there some tweaking that might need to be done? Yeah, I think that's possible, because that's possible of every single government program in existence. But basically, what's happening here is that they're using a flaw that could be addressed to destroy the entire program. It's like it's throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So the issue here is that Tim Scott originally wanted more requirements that would be more reporting requirements, basically, because the Opportunity Zone program doesn't have a lot of reporting requirements. So that kind of allows some people to slip through and take advantage where they shouldn't be able to. Now, Senator Scott wanted the reporting requirements in the original legislation, but they were taken out, I guess, because of Senate rules, which I'm not really sure what that means, like what rules would have taken out, measures that would, allow for a little bit more accountability. But he is working on having those requirements reinstated. So there really is no reason to scrap the entire program just because of that. But even if he wasn't able to address it, it seems to me that the good far outweighs the bad. But like I said, this is not the first time that they've targeted it. Rashida Tlaib has targeted the program before. Last year, she tried to target it. And also last year, let me just pull this up for you guys real quick. This is another article that I wrote for Liberty Nation. And I'll be putting the links to this as well. But basically, it's called Spiteful Democrats Target Opportunity Zones Initiative. And this one involves Representatives Jim Clyburn, Democrat from South Carolina, and Senator Ron Wyden from Oregon, Democrat from Oregon. And the issue here, and Tim Scott had some stuff to say about them too, although he's a lot more diplomatic than I probably would have been, but I guess he kind of has to be. But basically, what they were trying to do last year, this was in November, so not too long ago. And Tim Scott is the one that kind of called attention to this, because the news media was not going to report on this, but he came out and put him on blast, basically. But what they were trying to do is they were a little bit more slick with it. So they weren't trying to destroy the entire program directly by cutting off funding, but they wanted to introduce changes that would essentially neuter the program so that it couldn't benefit as many people. Again, under the guise of trying to maintain accountability and that kind of thing. So Senator Scott came out and put him on blast. So like I said, and he released a statement in which he said, quote, "This is the second misguided attempt by congressional Democrats in the last 2 weeks to wreck the Opportunity Zone initiative under the guise of improvement. Make no mistake, Congressman Clyburn's legislation, which is very similar to a bill introduced by Senator Wyden in the Senate last week, will needlessly punish low-income communities who are hoping to use opportunity zones to transform areas left behind." And then he went on. He said, he went on to say that an estimated $63 billion are expected to be utilized in zones across the country, with the poverty rate averaging 29% in the 8,700 zones across the nation. And so then he went on. I love the way he put this, because like you can almost hear the snark, even though he's not really a snarky person like that. He put them all in bullet points. He basically said that from the research that they've done, if these two lawmakers, these Democratic lawmakers got their way, it would cancel multiple zones with a child poverty rate above 30%. It would cancel multiple zones with a general poverty rate above 25%. Some where the poverty rate is even double their statewide average. It would cancel at least one zone with a senior poverty rate above 40%. It would also cancel a zone where African Americans comprise 20% of the community and have a median household income of $16,000 per year. So, I mean, if you put all that together, that's a lot of Black folks that are going to suffer if these two lawmakers were to have gotten their way. So it begs the question again. Instead of making proposals that would basically destroy the program or make it completely impotent to the point that it's not really helping anybody, how does that even make sense? If there are certain tweaks that can be done to improve it, that's one thing. But why would you go for an approach that's going to destroy the program? And that's really where I want to get into right now. And the video that I did yesterday alluded to this too. And I have a feeling that I'm going to be talking about this a lot this year and probably going on. But remember, the Democrats do not care about Black people. Representative Rashida Tlaib does not care about Black people. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez does not care about Black people. Because if they did, they would come to the table with some honest solutions. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but they would be more like Cory Booker, who wouldn't want to destroy the entire program because he's already praised similar programs and he actually supported the opportunity zones in the beginning, along with some other Democratic legislators. See, the thing is, we always talk about the Democrats being so far on the left, and that is true to a large extent. But even some of the ones that are on the left are still more reasonable. And again, I'm surprised I'm saying this, but Senator Cory Booker is one of them. And the thing about Cory Booker, I don't know what happened to this man. I know I'm digressing a little bit, but I have to say it. I don't know what happened to this man. Like, back in the day when he was like the mayor of Newark and when he was running, I even saw a documentary about him, about his race to become mayor of Newark, or Nork, as some people have corrected me. I'm not pronouncing it right. I'm sorry, but he ran a really good race. He ran with integrity, and he was running against one of the most corrupt politicians in recent memory. And back then I knew, I don't agree with him on policy. There's a lot that I disagree with him, but I had a level of respect for him. But then he came out, talking about this is my Spartacus moment. He's like, well, whatever. He needs to go back to the old Booker a little bit. I mean, that'd be great. Anyway, he was one of the people that supported this initiative. So to me, even though I disagree with Senator Booker on most things, and probably the other Democrats that were with him, they at least had a level of honesty with this, and they have a level of sincerity. They actually want to see a difference in Black communities. Ocasio-Cortez and Tlaib don't. They'll tell you that, but the only difference that they want to see is more reliance on the government. They want them to rely more on a government that's going to fail them over and over and over again, especially since their local governments are governed by people who are there to fail, basically, or succeed, depending on how you look at it. If you're cynical like me, they are succeeding in keeping Black people in these areas poor. So to me, one, there's the issue of this is a Republican initiative. So they definitely don't want a Republican initiative to benefit the Black community. That's out of the question. They would rather see Black people suffer than to have Black people lifted out of poverty if it involves Republicans or conservatives. So that's one reason why they want to scuttle this whole thing. Two, they benefit when Black people are poor. I've said this over and over again. Sonny Johnson, quote from her, if they want to be the party of the poor, they have to keep them poor. They have to do things that will continue to keep them at a certain level. They have to keep substandard education. They have to keep corrupt police officers who abuse Black people in the streets, not just by killing them, but by doing other things like violent actions, excessive force. They keep those in place. These are not Republican-run cities. These are run by Democrats. Every time you hear of a case of a policeman shooting an unarmed Black man or killing a Black man unjustly, it's not in a Republican city. They keep this environment in place because they know that they're able to use it to say that, well, this is the Republicans' fault that what's happening to you. I know I'm your mayor. I know I have more of an impact on your life, but it's Trump's fault if you're in poverty. It's Reagan's fault. It's, whomever's fault. And I'm not saying Republicans have been perfect on this stuff either, especially, at the federal level. There was plenty of issues with Reagan and with other Republican presidents. But when it comes to the local level, they own this. It is their fault. Well, I'll say they share most of the fault in the condition of many Black Americans today, and Hispanics too, and other races as well. So this is done because this keeps Black people dependent on the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party knows that they have no competition. And you know where I'm going to go with this at the end anyway, because you know me. If you don't know me, you're about to find out. So basically, this is just yet another way that Democrats put a good face on themselves. They give a lot of lip service. They pretend to care about racism. They cry about racism. Racism sucks. We got to put an end to systemic racism. We've got to do something about race relations in this country. And we got to fight against, the white supremacists. Meanwhile, while people aren't looking, they're doing stuff like this. They're trying to scuttle a program that is specifically designed to help minorities. Yes, and it is designed for rural areas too, but I mean, who's really going to benefit from this if it works the way it's intended? It's going to be Black people, and the Democrats know it. Ocasio-Cortez knows it. Rashida Tlaib knows it. Senator Ron Wyden knows it. Representative James Clyburn, he knows it too. They don't care. So keep this in mind, that there are better ways to attack the Democrats than saying, oh, they did KKK, they did the slavery, the Democrats did Jim Crow. That's all in the past. No, we need to look at what they're doing right now. That's why I get so sick of hearing that regurgitated line. Well, Democrats founded the KKK. Democrats supported Jim Crow. They voted against civil rights legislation. Yeah, so what? Who cares? Nobody cares about that anymore. That was in the past. Everybody who supported slavery is dead. Everybody who fought to against slavery is dead. Everybody who was in power back then during Jim Crow, they're all dead. Not a single one of them is in power today. So let's talk about what the Democrats are doing now, because they give us plenty of ammo. This is one example. We should be shouting this from the rooftop. We should be tweeting out, hey, why are you guys opposing this program? Oh, you say it has some issues? Okay, then why aren't you working to fix it instead of just trying to destroy it? What's the problem? Make them answer the question. Because I guarantee you they're not going to have a good answer. Instead of us always being the one to react, why don't we go on the offensive? I would love to see Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in a position where she has to answer for what she's doing right now. I would love for her to see her stumble, to see her try to squirm around it, because there is no good reason for what she's doing. I would love to see Rashida Tlaib in the same position. I would love to see them cornered. Hey, why are you doing this? I would love to see black people do it. And we're seeing more black people starting to bite back against the Democrats. We saw Charlemagne the God push back against Joe Biden during that radio show. And just recently, when Biden said that Trump is the first racist president, Charlemagne told him to shut the F up. So we're starting to see more and more black people on the left getting a little froggy with the Democratic Party publicly. I would love to see them on this, because a lot of the people that have been criticizing Democrats have sat down with Senator Tim Scott to talk about opportunity zones and other right-leaning conservative solutions for the problems that the black community faces. And I guarantee you, economic incentives, the free market, most black people are going to be more with that than government assistance, because black people tend to lean more to the right, or at the very least to the middle. We're not socialist. So that was pretty much my 2 cents on this whole thing. You guys can let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you. Leave some comments leave some comments below. Again, please share the video, and please subscribe. Hit that little bell. I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel. I'm going to be doing more video content. I know I'm a writer, and I'm always going to be writing, but I want to do more video content, because that way more people I can reach more people that way, because some people don't like to read articles, or they like to do a little bit of both. So please subscribe, share the video, and most importantly, let me know what you think, whether you disagree or agree, or you just like my hat, I'll hear whatever you got to say. So until next time.